followed by Washington Emergency Management Division Director Robert Ezell. Then we're going to kick it to Skagit County Department of Emergency Chief Julie De Lasada, followed by Skagit County Commissioner Lisa Janicki. And now, Governor Bob Ferguson.
Thank you so much for being here. We appreciate all of you taking time to join us today. First, I just want to start by once again thanking the extraordinarily hard work of so many folks, not just here, but all across our state. This is obviously a statewide emergency impacting communities from Lewis County to Yakima to right here. It's all across the state. And so there is, to put it very mildly, many individuals working extremely hard in many different capacities at multiple different levels to respond to, can only be described as a very significant event for the people of the state of Washington. The descriptions that we've heard from the federal government yesterday, the National Weather Service, as describing it as potentially catastrophic and potentially having significant loss of life, still remains in place. That is our approach to this. We're handling it as if that is the case, because it is. It's a very serious situation. I'll be brief in my remarks. We'll turn over to others, and of course we're happy to take any questions that individuals have. First, let me just give you an update on our request. The state has a request for a declaration of emergency from the federal government. After my press conference yesterday afternoon, I had a call with them with FEMA, I believe at 2 o'clock yesterday afternoon. We had a good conversation with General Welsh and others to describe in detail the situation here in Washington State and really the tremendous need that Washington State has for assistance from the federal government. We walked through the numerous highway closures. We walked through the flood levels. We walked through tens of thousands of Washingtonians being evacuated. And we tried to be as persuasive as we could to our partners in the federal government that they need to approve that emergency right away. I have another meeting with FEMA representatives that we're trying to schedule here very shortly after this press conference. If I receive any update information about that request, we of course will let you know right away. I want to emphasize how much I appreciate the tremendous coordination that's been going on. I've been in politics a long time, over 20 years. I know when I see great coordination, and I know when I see coordination that's not really happening, and everything in between. What I would say in my experience so far just came from a detailed briefing from the folks who are here. Tremendous coordination. That's what I'm hearing from everybody who I'm talking to all across the state, is the coordination has been tremendous. That's our job. That's what we need to be doing. But it takes a lot of effort and a lot of work to make that happen. And that is definitely happening all across the state. So I want to say thanks to all the partners you see here, but of course many partners all across the state who are working hard. Just a brief update on highways. The number of highways, significant highways that have closed since last night has doubled. We're now at 30 or 31 highways across our region that have closed, including here in Skagit County, SR 20 and SR 530, those due to flooding. So it's a major impact, obviously, to our state in many ways. I just highlight that as one example of the evolving situation we're facing, where literally overnight we doubled the number of highways, major highways, that have closed. The situation is, the word that was used by in the briefing earlier is unpredictable. And that's what we want to communicate to Washingtonians. This situation is extremely unpredictable. We're using the best information we can to provide guidance to the people of the state, but it is unpredictable. And I just want to emphasize that if you have instructions to evacuate from your local authorities, please evacuate. Your life is extremely important to us. We're trying to do everything we possibly can to communicate the gravity of the situation, the people of the state of Washington. We understand that many folks have experienced significant floods in the past and that they may feel they can ride it out. The flooding levels we're looking at are potentially historic in nature. And so we just want to emphasize how serious the situation is. But once again, I so appreciate the partnership that's been tremendous, the hard work of so many individuals. And with that, we'll turn over to those speakers. And again, we'll be happy to take any questions that folks have at the conclusion of our remarks. Thanks so much.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for being here. My name is Robert Ezell, and I'm the director of the Washington State Emergency Management Division. As Governor Ferguson said, the situation is extremely unpredictable. It's dangerous, and we have numerous communities across the state, not just here in Skagit County, but across the state, that are threatened by dangerous floodwaters. So what has been happening is we're experiencing back-to-back atmospheric rivers with very, very significant rainfall that essentially caused rivers to rise a couple of days ago. And they dropped a little bit, and then we're now experiencing the crest from the second atmospheric river that came through. So up the Skagit River, we saw high water mark hitting concrete earlier this morning. Yesterday, all indicators that we had was it was going to greatly exceed record flood levels by a number of feet. What we have seen in actuality is it came through right at about the record flood level. That doesn't mean to say that we're out of the woods. We're not. Because as the waters come down here, they're still going to be gaining strength, and as they hit the Burlington, Mount Vernon area, we're still expecting to see about 2 feet higher than record flood level. It's going to be most likely worse than you experienced back in 2021. A lot of work has been done on the levees. We haven't tested those yet, so this system coming through will test the work that was done on the levees. And as that water comes down, it's going to be reaching right up to the top of the levees. So again, the situation is unpredictable. It's dangerous. We don't know what exactly will happen when those floodwaters come through. In other counties, we're seeing major flooding impacts. Lewis County, Highway 12 is still closed. Randall is still cut off. Just prior to this briefing, we got word that there's some significant burn scar runoff over in this town of Stehekin with some damages. Yakima is seeing damages. It's really pretty much across both sides of the Cascades and up and down western Washington. Governor Ferguson talked about the road closures. We don't really have word on when roads are going to open back up. It's going to take time for floodwaters to recede. Damage then has to be assessed. In many cases, repairs are going to have to be done. So please, we encourage everyone to be patient. It's going to take time to bring everything back. So with that, I just want to conclude by emphasizing, please follow the instructions of local first responders. Stay out of high waters, especially stay out of moving water. Do what you need to do to keep yourself safe. And so with that, I'd like to wrap up and turn it over to Julie DeLosada.
Thank you very much, Robert. Good afternoon. I'm Julie DeLosada, Chief of Emergency Management for Skagit County. First of all, I really want to thank all of our tribal, state, local, federal partners with the Army Corps. We cannot get through things like this without a partnership, without a system, and without intense manpower to get through these really critical, complex incidents. I feel very confident in the team that we have, our incident management team, and the support that we have from the state, that we are going to manage this incident. What comes next with the peak at 10 o'clock, we are ready to watch, we're ready to respond. I want to thank the Skagit Valley College, Skagit Transit, and San Juan County Emergency Management, who have provided support to us beyond their every day-to-day work. It's really helped us get through this. I really want to encourage people that if the community has questions or needs, to please reach out to our help desk. We have a phone line that's been set up. It's 360-416-2090. We also have a web page that has been restored. It crashed yesterday, but it has been restored. SkagitCounty.net, and go to the Emergency Management Division, and you will find information that will help you navigate this crisis and navigate resources in the community. Stay strong, Skagit County. We get through things like this together. Thank you. Commissioner Janicki.
Good afternoon. Lisa Janicki. I'm a Skagit County Commissioner and representing our board of 3 commissioners. I want to underscore that no matter where the river ends up in Mount Vernon, it is still going to be at or the actual historic event. So we can't let our foot off the pedal yet. Safety is our number one concern. And people who are watching this at home, you are responsible for your first level of safety. Please be preemptive. Please get out. If you are in that defined flood zone, if you have a fear that you might flood, please get out. Phone a friend. My daughter is housing 3 other families at her place, including one in an RV, just to get them off of the 100-year floodplain. But there are also shelters set up. The same site that Julie just listed for us has resources where you can get to a shelter. Your personal safety is the most important part now. We are in these last few hours before the river is going to crest in Mount Vernon. It was mentioned, but I want to say it again, because up here sometimes it's a gaming thing of, can I drive through the water? How deep can I go? We've watched it on newscasts of Teslas driving through water. Please don't do that. Don't do that. Not just obey the signs. Be smart and get yourselves home and take care of you and your loved ones. And then as I was coming through here, I was really happy to see how many businesses have closed down proactively in Burlington and Mount Vernon. That is really good policy, and the school districts have closed down preemptively for both Thursday and Friday. What I did see that is nuts is people are walking their dogs on the tops of these dikes that may fail. We were just talking about, we're hoping they hold, but there's seepage in some spots. It's posted, do not enter, do not walk on those on those dikes, and let the folks working to reinforce and keep those dikes functional get their cars. There may be trucks or cars there. They're not there as observers. Get off those dikes, get home, and take care of your loved ones. And, finally, I want to just add a giant thank you to this huge group of support that Skagit County has. We absolutely could not do this alone. It's all those government agencies, and I see Red Cross, it's those nonprofits too and the volunteers working inside shelters and providing food and doing those things that we come together as community. I think that's what we do best in Skagit County. So thank you all.
Thanks, Commissioner. That's everybody, right? Okay. So just the last thing I'll add, and we'll take your questions, is a lot of folks here are working hard to respond to the situation, but I've talked to a couple folks who they're doing that work, plus mentioning that late at night or early morning going to their homes to deal with their home situation. So not only are they helping the larger community, but also have to do that while taking care of a difficult situation quite personally. So I want to say a very special thank you to those folks who are looking out for the broader community while also having to take care of very personal situations as well. With that, we'll do our best to answer any questions that you have. Yeah.
Yes, could anybody provide some clarity to the word overnight that there's potential risk of a levee or dike failure near Cedral Bully or outside Cedral Bully?
Anybody can provide that information?
Haven't heard specifics.
Go for it.
So we do know that in 2021, when we had the floods, that our dike and drainage systems had some impact. And there's been repairs from the Army Corps since that time. This flood is the next event that will be testing the security of the dikes. So we don't know yet until the water starts rising more and pushing against that dike system more. We do know that there's potential vulnerabilities where those repairs were made since 2021.
Specifically about the River Bend area of Mount Vernon, that dike around there, any concerns specifically about that area?
Again, the dike districts can better answer specific areas. All of the areas where we saw concerns in 2021 are areas that we have our eyes on again right now.
Any way to say how many National Guard members are deployed right now in Skagit County? I understand that there's about a dozen going common ways.
In the county, we've got 100 currently staged and 200 on the way. And then they'll be responding wherever they're needed across the county.
So that's 300 for Skagit.
300 total.
Governor, can you speak to, are you tracking how many emergency evacuations have happened? Have there been any reported injuries or even deaths due to the flood?
So I'll repeat the question. The question was, are we tracking how many emergency evacuations there have been, and how many, the last part was?
Injuries or even deaths
Injuries or deaths. So I actually asked that question just about 45 minutes ago in this briefing, and so I'll let others chime in as well. In the briefing that I heard, there's not been reported deaths. There are, of course, some evacuations that are going on. I'll let others speak to that. Those have been relatively isolated so far, sort of emergency evacuations, but I'll let others speak to that in more detail. But of course, that's something that we're all collectively tracking very closely. That's an issue going on around the state as well, of course, that we track pretty carefully. But I'll let others, if they want to provide more information about that.
I'd like to invite Lieutenant Jeff Willard from Skagit County Sheriff's Office to talk about the response that the Sheriff's Office has provided.
Thank you. Good morning, everybody. So the Skagit County Sheriff's Office has initiated emergency staffing. We did that last night, where we're on emergency 12-hour shifts. We have doubled our staffing. We're now responding with approximately 30 deputies per shift, 24 hours a day, now going forward 7 days a week. So we are ready and capable to respond to any of those emergency situations. Right now, a lot of our response has been welfare checks on people, calling in about loved ones. We have a couple of people that have been in crisis. This is very traumatic for people. Even though they're safe, they may feel out of control. The Sheriff's Office has a crisis response team and embedded mental health professionals that are ready and responding to those type of incidents. So right now we haven't had any major rescues. We've had a rescue yesterday down in Conway. An unhoused person was rescued. Today, nothing major, some stalled vehicles, some people calling in with at their house with some concerns, but we're handling those as they come up, and the EOC and operations will be responding to any of the major calls for service.
Governor, we're seeing repeated instances of the federal government being unwilling or unable to provide emergency aid.
Right.
They've denied our requests here in Washington several times as well.
True.
What is our plan for recovery if that happens again this time?
So the question is, what's the plan for recovery if the federal government does not grant an emergency? At this stage, what I would say is we're dealing with what's right in front of us right now, and we have a lot that's right in front of us right now. So my focus right now, my energy when it comes to the federal government is to do everything in my power and my team's power to persuade them to grant that emergency and to provide them the information they need to make that decision. And so, to be direct about it, yesterday afternoon, I was sitting next to the general, and we were literally drafting the language that would go to the federal government. So we were there editing away on that document to make sure it said exactly what we wanted to say, that incorporated all the information we're getting from folks all across the state to communicate as clearly as we possibly could to the federal government how grave the situation is here in Washington State and how the scope of the crisis truly exceeds our ability, as united as we are with the resource that we have, truly exceeds our ability to manage it. Dozens of road closures of major highways, right? Individuals in crisis, as you're hearing. The potential for a historic flooding event right here in a matter of hours. So we're communicating all that and more to the federal government. Again, I'll be having a conversation with FEMA, as I understand it, very soon after this conversation with all of you. And we're hopeful for good news, but we're going to focus right now on trying to ensure that that they answer in the way we want. I will also add that I've encouraged my friends on the other side of the aisle who may have their own contacts in the federal administration to reach out to the administration and to communicate how deeply this is impacting their constituents and their communities as well, to make sure that the FEMA and the federal government's not just hearing from me. My role is important, obviously, as is with the National Guard and others, but to make sure they're hearing from other elected officials as well. So I also encourage them to do that if they haven't already.
What concerns do you have about whether or not we get funding being increasingly a partisan event?
The question goes to concerns I have about the granting of emergency aid from the federal government on what does seem to be an increasingly partisan event. Right now I'm just not focused on that. I've spoken about that in the past. My thoughts are pretty clear about it. I just think right now, just trying to stay united, on our job here is really what my job is as governor. There will be time for that conversation, I think. But right now, I'm going to choose to be what I typically am, which is a glass half full kind of person. And so we have a more than compelling situation here. More than compelling situation, and we are communicating back to the decision makers what the federal government itself is communicating. This is a potentially catastrophic event. That's the words of the National Weather Service. with the potential for significant loss of life. That's once again from the Federal National Weather Service. Those aren't my words, that's the federal government. And so we are communicating those words back to the decision makers about the situation here. And so it's grave, we need their assistance, and we're doing everything we possibly can to make sure that they approve it. Yeah.
Do you have an estimated potential total damage cost yet? And then also, what do you say to folks who may have evacuated last night, got back to their homes this morning, didn't see any water, and are thinking like they can make it through tonight?
And who's that question for?
Anybody.
Oh, for anyone. Oh, so I'll let others jump in. My apologies. Go right ahead. I thought you called out somebody.
Okay, could you repeat the beginning of the question again?
Yeah,
Sorry.
got two questions. So, do you guys have an estimated amount of damages so far?
At this point, no, because right now we're responding. Our primary concern is life safety of individuals and the impacted communities. So it's going to take some time for the floodwaters to recede before we're able to collect what the damages are. And so just ask everybody's patience on that one, and it's probably going to take days to weeks before we really get a full accounting of what the damages are. And then the second part, again, we look after people. And so if somebody has gone back to find a home flooded at the local level, state level, we will do what we can to support people, and our partners, Red Cross and other voluntary agencies, are here to wrap around and help take care of the folks who have experienced loss and damage.
Yeah.
Just one moment. We're just going to add to that last question.
Yeah, to the question about if they go home and it's not raining and maybe they're out of the woods. They are not out of the woods. There could be another system coming in. The Mount Vernon hasn't crested yet. People are not out of the woods. It's really important that if we give the evacuation notice, that people stay evacuated until the all clear notice comes out. So that's the indicator. When people get the alarm on their phone that says it's okay to return, that's when you can return. In the meantime, incredibly important to stay evacuated. Don't go back. Thank you.
Is there anyone that's going door to door trying to check if people are still at home or maybe not listening to those evacuation notices? I don't know if that's a question for you, Sheriff.
So we are currently not going door to door checking on people, but we are doing patrols in the area. We are responding to calls for people that are home and have concerns. We have staff ready and available. If somebody called and says, hey, I decided to ride it out, but now I have concerns and I can't get out of my house, we're there to either, if we can safely evacuate them or take any information. We are getting calls for people that are out of the area. They say have a loved one they haven't heard from, or maybe they can't get a hold of, or they're just concerned for them. We go to those calls. We get a hold of them, best of our ability, do the welfare check on them, and close that loop back with the reporting party to let them know if their loved one's safe, or me where they can find them if we can get that information.
Is there any sense of the number or percentage of people in the floodplain that have or have not evacuated?
I'll just repeat the question. And the question was, do we have a sense of the numbers of those who, in order to evacuate, how many have evacuated, how many have not? I don't believe we have that information. Is that right? Yeah, I asked a question similar to that earlier in the briefing, and the answer was, it's as you might imagine, it's difficult to know at this stage. Yeah.
Are there any numbers of those in the shelters? Or do we have any estimations about how many people are in the shelters currently?
Oh, the question is how many, estimation of how many folks are in the shelters. Anybody feel they can answer that?
I have not been briefed on that yet. We do know that we have 3 shelters running. There's one in Mount Vernon, I believe, one in Cedar-Woolley, and then the county has a cold weather shelter that was already stood up before this event that will not turn people away. What we do know is there's about 78,000 people who live in the floodplain in Skagit County. Not all of those people need shelters. Many people very proactively went to family, to friends, to other places. So we are not anticipating the need to shelter that many people. At the last operation briefing that I received, we think maybe 3,800 people might need sheltering. And that's the last update I have. Thank you.
Yes. want to speak to the National Guard? Do you mind repeating the question, if that's all right?
Okay, the question was, what does recovery look like after an event like this, and what's the role of the National Guard in recovery? So again, there's a number of variables that we would be looking at, and again, it's the extent of damage, it's the number of homes that experience either major damage or are losses. It's looking at the insurance level, because generally insurance is the primary recovery tool, and so then the programs that follow are generally to help those who are either uninsured or underinsured, and that's either at the federal or the state level, the programs that we do have. And then as we move from the immediate taking care of individuals and families that have experienced loss, helping them through the immediate aftermath, then we kick into long-term recovery. And what that will generally look like is facilitating the communities being able to stand up a long-term recovery group, bringing all different forms of aid. Our voluntary groups will all be in there, and Red Cross, Adventist, many others that will look at bringing in, coming together, supporting the community, in many cases helping rebuild homes, restore services, and then long-term recovery is a multi-year process. It's not something that's going to happen in just a couple of months, and so we will be there as a partnership with the county and with the communities for years as we work through this process to get them back on their feet again, to restore and build back to hopefully a better state than it was before the disaster impact. And I know that's a one over the world answer, but that's about how it works.
Any other questions we have? Yeah, Chris.
Numbers to clarify, you said 300 Guardsmen in Skagit County. What about statewide right now?
Statewide, we're prepared to deploy further, but in Skagit is 300, and then as the needs arise, we will deploy to other areas where those are. But we have not seen a situation to this level where we're being asked to deploy Guard to help.
Any final questions? Folks will be available, I think, afterwards as well if you have individual questions. Just a final thought, I'll just will say that, and I mentioned this to a few people behind me, that the Skagit River's had several major floods over its history that's been recorded, which is now over 130 years of recording it. In 1897, I think it was, there was a major flood. I'm familiar with that because my family was homesteading on the Skagit River, very close to Marble Mount on the south side of the river, a couple miles down from west of Marble Mount. They were right on the river. That's where the homestead was. That was a major event in my family's experience in Washington State, as you can imagine. And so I'm very much aware of the impact on communities like Marble Mount, like Rockport, and others, where people are being impacted by a major event. So I care deeply about all parts of the state, but I think it's fair to say that communities along the Skagit River are first among equals in my family, as you might imagine. And so I just want people of this community to know I'm deeply invested in what's going on here. We're communicating that wherever we can. I'm deeply appreciative that every time I seem to ask anybody who's involved on recovery all across the state or handling what's going on, when I always ask the same question, which is, do you need anything more from the state? Are you getting everything you need? The answer is always, no, we're getting what we need. And that's going to be evolving, right? Not just for days, but for weeks and probably for an extended period of time to come. So that's the answer we want to hear. We're going to make sure we're doing everything we can, working together, tribes, local governments, first responders, everybody who's here, and many others, federal partners, to make sure we do everything we can to get through this experience together. Thank you so much for being here today. We're hopeful to do this again tomorrow. We'll keep you posted. Obviously, Brianna from my team will keep you posted, but our hope is to do something like this again tomorrow. So at one moment in time, you can get all the experts here to communicate about what's going on. Thank you so much, everybody. We appreciate it. Thanks, sir. Yeah. Thanks, General. Yeah. Thank you. Appreciate it. Yeah. Thanks, Governor. Hey, appreciate it. Thanks for being here as well. Yeah. We'll get through the challenge. Appreciate you. Sorry, folks are slipping in on me.
No, it's all good. It's all good. I'm happy that you're here. I'm happy that you're here.
I think it's more good.